Do you remember how they first explained space to you? A black page in a school notebook, white dots for stars, a giant sphere called Earth, and a droplet of metal, a spacecraft. The teacher said, "Space is a vacuum. There's no air, no sound. It's endlessly cold and a human can only survive in a spacesuit." And you believed it. You imagined Yuri Gagarin rising into orbit, smiling through the porthole, seeing the Earth from afar, and saying, "Let's go." You believed that humanity had entered open space, that the Americans had landed on the moon. That space was the new battlefield, and we were the first heroes on the front line. We accepted that program. We believed everything we were told. In my childhood, I didn't know a single boy who didn't want to be a cosmonaut. But now, as an adult, you look back and ask, why hasn't any country repeated the moon mission, even though technology has advanced 100-fold since then? Why are all photographs of Earth from space different, in color, in shape, and almost always look drawn? Why have you never seen real, continuous footage of a rocket launch, from liftoff all the way into orbit? Why are there no stars in space photos? Why do spacesuits from the lunar era look like fabric dolls, and modern ones don't look much better? Why can no one clearly explain how a spacesuit even works in a vacuum? Why don't thousands of satellites cover the sky? Why does space feel more like faith than science? They taught us to look up, but no one told us to look within. No one explained that what you're seeing isn't space. It's a version of the world, a version of history, a version of being. What they showed us may not have been truth, but a convenient version of truth, a script that had to be believed so we wouldn't ask other, more dangerous questions about space, about Earth, about edges, about ceilings, about where you really are. Sometimes reality isn't hidden, it's simply overlapped by a greater spectacle. When humanity began approaching the truth, they were given a myth, loud, heroic, dazzling, and that's how space was born. But let's start with dates. Not fantasies, facts. 1955. The United States launches Operation Deep Freeze. Officially, a scientific expedition to Antarctica. In reality, a massive military operation. The U.S. sends heavy equipment, planes, and ships. Bases, airfields, and warehouses are built on the ice. Antarctica becomes a strategic zone. Why such effort if it's just ice? At the same time, work quietly begins on the creation of NASA. No one is talking about stars yet, but inside the U.S. government, the first structures are being formed, ones that will later become the foundation of the space program. 1956. Admiral Richard Byrd, commander of the Antarctic expeditions, gives an interview and hints. Beyond Antarctica lies something greater, an area comparable in size to the United States, and one day it will play a strategic role. Those words quickly vanish from the media. He never speaks publicly again. A year later, he dies, under strange circumstances. 1957. Two historical turning points occur. The creation of NASA begins, officially structured as a national project. Not just science, but a state-level program with military ties. Former Nazi scientists, including Wernher von Braun, join the effort. The same men who once worked for the Third Reich. They become the founding fathers of American astronautics. October 4, 1957. The Soviet Union launches Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite. The world holds its breath. The media shift their attention upward. People look to the sky. No one asks what's happening at the South Pole. Coincidence? In 1958, NASA is officially established, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, right in the middle of the Antarctic events. From this moment, the U.S. federal budget officially flows into the sky. You begin to believe in rockets, the moon, interstellar journeys. You don't notice that access below has been sealed. 1959. The Antarctic Treaty is signed. 12 countries, including the U.S. and the USSR, suddenly agree. No military bases, no private expeditions, no industrial development. The continent is completely locked down. From that moment on, you can't go there. Not really. 1961. Gagarin, the first man in space. The point of no return. From that moment on, All of humanity's attention was directed upward. Space became the main stage. People began to dream of stars instead of Earth. You no longer asked, what lies beyond the ice? You started asking, when are we going to Mars? Year after year, a step deeper into illusion, they gently steered you away from the edge, away from reality, away from the possibility of seeing it all with your own eyes. NASA was created in 1958, just 1 year after the launch of the Soviet satellite, with the slogan, "We won't fall behind, we'll go too." But who created it? Wernher von Braun, former Nazi scientist, chief engineer of Hitler's rocket program. He didn't just help. He became the director of NASA. A hero of the Third Reich turned into a symbol of American progress. Would you trust the universe to a man who built weapons for a fascist regime? NASA was immediately given an unlimited budget, billions of dollars, thousands of employees, secret facilities, but still, no undeniable evidence of actual space travel. 1969. The moon. The world freezes. A black and white picture. A bouncing astronaut. A flag. The world applauds. But later, something feels off. No direct video feed from the moon, just recordings filmed from a screen. Original footage? Lost. Photos? No stars, just a pitch-black void. Why? The flag waves in as if in wind. But there is no wind. They never returned. The technology in 1969 was primitive. Today we have 4K cameras, drones, satellites, and autonomous tech. But we don't go back to the moon. NASA says, it's too expensive. But didn't we already go? Now imagine this. You create a legend. People are inspired. You control the screen. You no longer need to show truth. You only need to show footage. NASA is a studio. Writers, designers, actors, editors. You think you're watching space, but you're watching a show. One former NASA employee once said, "We don't lie. We simulate reality. They don't explore. They illustrate. They give you a picture, one you believe in." Meanwhile, Earth remains unexplored. Antarctica is off limits. The ocean depths remain a mystery. But every night you look at the sky, thinking you're part of some grand cosmic story. But maybe you're just a spectator in a theater. And the curtain isn't the sky. It's a program uploaded into your consciousness. You've seen those films, where characters live inside a dome, unaware of the world beyond. You thought that was fiction. But maybe it was a warning, a clue. Look at the facts, the timeline. Common sense. 1. Rockets don't go straight up. They arc. Any unedited footage shows the same thing. The rocket curves away, skimming the sky rather than piercing through it. 2. The sound barrier is real. Pilots describe it. Tremors, vibrations, a shift. But the transition into space? Always smooth. Like gravity just turned off. There's no detailed report on what it feels like to break through the so-called dome, because no one has. 3. Asteroids never come from the side, always from above. Odd, isn't it? If Earth is hurtling through space at 107,000 km/h, why do all meteorites fall vertically? Doesn't it feel flat? As if debris is falling from above, not all around, like in a real vacuum. 4. All rocket agencies, NATO, Roscosmos, the Chinese space program, are working together, just like they agreed on Antarctica. No one breaks the boundary, no one pushes too far, they're all leashed. 5. Simulated skies are possible. In the 1990s, Project Bluebeam was publicly described, a method for creating holographic projections in the sky, visible to masses. If that was possible, then what did we see before? Stars? Or a preloaded template? You can't leave the boundary, because there is a boundary. You've never seen real stars. You've never touched the moon. You've never felt the Earth spin. You've never felt the vacuum. Maybe because you're inside something, a room, a vast simulation, a dome, and as long as you don't ask questions, everything functions as programmed. But if you raise your head, not with your eyes but with awareness, a crack might appear in the dome. You don't have to believe theories. You can call it all coincidence, but let's just think. Logically, calmly, rationally. Launching a rocket from Earth involves thousands of people. Engineers, operators, control centers, synchronizations, fuel systems, cooling systems, antennas, enormous structures, just to lift off. Now imagine, that massive machine takes off, separates, sheds boosters, and eventually, a capsule floats free. Okay, let's say it's possible. 1969. The moon. Thousands watching. We landed. But here's a question you've never asked. How did they lift off again? Where's the launch pad? Where's the fuel station? Where's the maintenance? Where's the support structure? How did a capsule launch itself from the moon? There's no atmosphere, no oxygen. Temperature swings from 170 degree to 120 degree O. The equipment must be ultra-precise, but they just launched. No external aid, no stabilizing tower, no rocket pad, just a button, and they flew. That's what they told you. They pushed start, and the module lifted off to dock with an orbiting ship. Sorry. How? Who guided it? How did it stay on course? How was it stabilized in a vacuum without advanced gyros? Now compare. On Earth, a 3-ton rocket requires a 250-ton launch pad, cooling systems, mounting clamps, control towers. But on the moon, a tin box on some legs lifts off and perfectly aligns with a spaceship in orbit. No radar, no control center, no room for error. Could you repeat that today with 2025 tech? Could you send a drone from the moon? No GPS, no link, no systems? No. No one could. Because the entire mission was a script, not a flight, not science, a legend, a beautiful story to replace your reality. You still think you live on a planet, in a random corner of an endless universe. But maybe you live not on Earth, but in it. Maybe it's not a sphere, or a disk, but a space, a set, a field, a level, a room, a dream, a matrix. Look around. Everything is tuned for you. Water, perfectly contained, never measured directly. Atmosphere, holding pressure beside a vacuum, with no barrier. Animals, perfectly adapted. Plants, making you air. Colors, matching your eyes. Emotions, drama, triggers. It's not a world. It's a configuration. You didn't just wake up this morning. You woke up in the game. And the deeper you go, the more you realize. You're not playing this game, you're creating it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for searching, for hearing. Start watching. Closer. See you soon. Goodbye.